Hello, everyone. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Hello, Simone. Yes, I feel better. Thank you for asking. Hello, Flavia. Hello, Hogans. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to open the door because it's warm in here. I'm doing fine. Hello, Quen. Hello, Olivia. Hello, Simone. Hello, Esma. Hello, Hogans. Hello, Lemon Tea and Ilias. Hello, Jiahui. Hello, Lori and Anonymous. Hello, Ray and James. What's the topic today? Well, today is a friend in every corner, right? So every Friday, my stream is just an interaction stream. So I'm here to chat. I'm here to talk to people and make friends. If you have questions, then I'll try to help you a little bit. But there is no specific topic. No specific topic. I like to talk to people from around the world. So, yeah. Where is the world going? Well, that's a deep question. My mother would probably say the world is going to hell in a handbasket. That's an idiom. It's going to hell in a handbasket. Yeah. Things are not doing well. Things are not doing well, that's for sure. That's today, yeah, okay. One moment, everyone. Okay, well, I'm waiting for you to talk to me. Hello, Miguel. Good to see you again, Miguel. Flavia says, my English classes at college start next Monday. Well, good for you, Flavia. Good for you. Can I explain, RZ? Hello, RZ. You want me to explain the difference between the word remember and the word remind? So, yeah, good question. One moment. So remember is a word that you use when you're talking about yourself, right? So for example, I remembered your birthday, or please remember to lock the door, right? When you're talking, I can't remember his name, right? So in this case, for the most part, it's I who's doing the thinking, right? But to remind someone is when you're telling another person to remember something. Right? So, for example, can you remind me to call my mom? Right? You are reminding me. So you are telling me to remember something. So remember can be I remember, he remembers, they remember, right? That's self, okay, somehow. But when you tell someone you need to remember something, that's you are reminding them. And remember, let's look at the etymology. Let's see. So remember comes from the Latin word rememorare, which means 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 again, and memorare means to be mindful of. So right. So remember is telling you need to again use your memory. Again, use your memory. That's for you. Right? But remind. Right. So they're similar, but remember is for yourself to remember, and remind is for someone else. Okay? Yeah. You never say I were, Hogans. You never say I were, right? So I was, he was, she was, it was, but you say they were, right? They were, we were, right? Okay, so basically the rule is you use I when you're talking about the correct past form of to be, right? So you have to use was, not were. Were is for plural, right? Okay. But when you say it in that way, if I were, that's different. That's different. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I was just about to say that. So when you can use it in the subjunctive mood, there's only one way that you can use it that way. That's the subjunctive mood. If I were, right? In this case, subjunctive is talking about hypothetical situations, not real. Okay, not real things, right? You can only use it when you say if. If you say if I were, now you can use it. But if you just say I were, that's wrong. Okay? You cannot just say I were something. That would be wrong. Okay? When should you use sky and when should you use skies? That's an interesting question. So, for example, flying the friendly skies, right? Why do we say that? Sky is usually a singular because there's only one sky, right? We have one sky, right? But you can use sky when you're talking about describing different skies. Like, for example, the skies over the mountains were deep orange. Okay? Now, you could say the sky over the mountain is deep orange, but sometimes when you're talking about the mountains, that means that it's different maybe it's different over the ocean than over the mountain. Okay? Or we flew through clear and stormy skies, right? So one is clear and one is stormy, right? So maybe you're flying to Asia, and some of the sky that you go to is clear, and some of it is stormy. So you could say clear and stormy skies, right? But then there's also a poetic way to use it, right? And that's really the most common way that it's used is just poetically, right? So, for example, under foreign skies, I found peace, right? That's like a poetic way to say when I moved to another country, I was much happier, okay? Or may blue skies follow you always, right? May blue skies follow you always. That's poetic, okay? So in general, use sky, singular, okay? Unless you want to be poetic or you're talking about somehow different kinds of skies, okay? Different kinds of skies. Okay, like you could say the skies opened up and it poured down rain. The skies opened up. We say that sometimes too, right? So that's figurative, right? That's idiomatic. It's kind of poetic, right? She dreamed of touching the skies. Okay, but that's a literary choice. That's what we call literary license, which means if you want to say sky, you could say she dreamed of touching the sky. Fine, there's nothing wrong with that. You could also say she dreamed of touching the skies. Okay. Hello, Anna. What's the difference between than or then? So, than is used to compare things, right? This boy is bigger than, than this boy. This boy is bigger than this boy, okay? Then, then, that is for, I'm going to the store, then I'm going to my friend's house, okay? So than is to compare things, THAN is to compare things. Then THEN is to say what you're going to do next. Okay? If I were a boy, right, Flavia, that's a hypothetical, right? That's the subjunctive mood, which means that you're talking about something not real. So in that case, yes, if I were, that works because it's hypothetical. Okay? Okay, we have somebody who wants to talk to me. Angel wants to talk to me. Angel, you want to come up? Oh, I need a haircut. Hello, Angel. Angel, are you there? You know, Anonymous, though, you know, you guys should play with your hair more often, right? Just grow it, change it. You know, it's a good thing to just let go every once in a while, okay? You guys care a little too much sometimes about what you look like or other people look like. And that's part of what I want to do here is I want you to understand that you should be looking at the person, not at what they look like. Understand? Angel, you can come on stage and I can turn the camera off. That's okay. Yeah, you can come on stage and turn the camera off. Yeah. Let's try again, Angel. I will turn the camera off for you. Okay? So you can come on stage and I'll turn the camera off and nobody will see you. Okay? So here we go. Camera is off. Hello,
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Angel. How are you?
How are you? I'm doing well.
Pretty good. I'm all right. And you're in Morocco? Are you in Marrakesh or Casablanca or where?
Yes, I'm in Morocco, but I'm in Fez right now.
Oh, okay. All right. And do you have a question for me or something I can help you with?
No, I just wanted to gossip and talk.
Okay.
I wanted just to practice my language and to have a bit of courage to talk in front of a lot of people.
Okay. Well, gossip is a funny word. Gossip usually means to talk about people, maybe not in a good way. Yeah, you know, yeah. Gossiping is usually something like, "Did you hear about what they did?" Psst, 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 right? Like it's not usually a positive thing. Yeah, but that's okay. You know, but we can chat about other stuff. So tell me, what do you like to do for fun?
It's like my hobbies.
Sure. Hobby, your interests, whatever.
I love to paint. We can say to draw. I love also to practice languages. I'm trying to learn how to talk with a lot of languages. I can talk in French and Arabic and English. I think that's enough, but I would love to learn Spanish.
Okay.
I feel like Spanish is so fun.
Well, you know, Spanish, there are some relationships between Spanish and Arabic because of the closeness of you guys there, you know? There are a lot of words in Spanish that are very similar to the words in Arabic. right? Like how do you say
Yes, especially
pants?
in the north of Morocco,
Right.
they use a lot of Spanish words.
Right. Yeah. Like the word pants. How do you say pants in Arabic?
In Arabic or my dialectical language in Morocco?
In Arabic, how do you say pants?
Sirwal.
Isn't there one that's just pantalons? Pantalon?
Ah, pantalon.
Yeah.
No. It's not in Morocco. It's in a different Arabic country.
Right. So, but guess what? Do you know how to say pants in Spanish?
No.
Pantalones.
It's the same. It's just the S in the
That's
end.
right. That's right. It's the same thing. That's because again,
Yeah.
the Spanish culture and the Arabic culture, the Moors, right? The Moors that traveled from northern Africa to Spain, and there was a lot of interaction there. So that means that there are many words and cultural things that are similar. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In the north of Morocco, they can talk very well in Spanish.
Wow. Okay. Cool. It's interesting. Yeah. Look. See. Like they said in Spanish, it's pantalones. In Italian, it's pantalon. In Turkish, it's pantalon. Yeah. So that's the beauty of language.
Yeah.
When that's why it's really great to study languages, especially just a little bit, because now you'll see that our cultures have been connected for a long time. Oh no! What happened to Angel? Angel, come back. When you see how languages are similar, then you understand that our different cultures have been connected for many, many, many years. For a long time. So I don't know what happened to you, Angel. Maybe you ran out of time. Well, let's talk to Tony then.
Hello, teacher.
Hello,
Nice to see you
Tony.
again.
Yeah, how are you? Good to see you.
I've been great. How about you?
I'm not bad. So, what can I do for you today?
Let's keep going the last topic.
Okay.
The AI. You said that when the AI occurs and it will replace a lot of jobs, and many people will lose jobs. But I don't think so, because let's take this back to the history. In the about 18 to 19th century, we human in the steam era, and then in to 20th century we go to the electric era, and those people think they will lose job, but not. There are new jobs like.
That's true, but that's not exactly correct, because, okay, first, do you see any more steam cars anymore? No. So that technology is gone. And yes, maybe some of the people who used to run steam engines would, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to learn this new technology. I'll do that. I'll move and change to the new technology. But unfortunately, humans are not always good at adapting to things. So there are many people who will say, oh, I don't know how to do this new thing, and, this is just too hard for me, or whatever. And so they don't adapt, right? So you are right that there will be some new jobs that are created, right? But this is the first technology that will have this big of a global effect. So, for example, steam technology, for example, like you were saying, steam technology was really important to the whole world at one point in time, right? But then we transferred to a better technology, and that technology went away, right? And but in the process of doing that, there was a lot of what we call upheaval. Upheaval means change that affects people badly. Okay, so the difference is steam. How many people actually ran steam equipment in the industrial age? Not that many, but so when that job changed, when that technology changed, it affected a lot, millions, but AI is going to affect billions of people. That's the difference. This is a technology that is very broad in how it's going to affect almost every industry. Every industry. So that's the difference. Is steam didn't apply to every industry. There was some industries that didn't use steam, didn't need steam. They were fine without steam, right? They don't have anything to do with steam. So steam did not affect writers. The steam technology didn't affect people who wrote, right? That didn't affect them at all. Steam didn't affect people who were teachers. That didn't affect teaching back then. Steam engines, that didn't really affect them very much, right? But AI is going to affect every single industry. It's going to affect writers. It's going to affect teachers. It's going to affect accountants and engineers and lawyers and doctors. So, and on top of that, most technologies take time to develop, right? So it took many, many years to develop the steam engine. And then it took many years to develop the industrial age. And then it took many, many years to develop the car. But AI is developing exponentially faster than any technology we've ever had. And that's another reason it's going to affect people greatly, much more than any other technology in the past. And probably not in a good way, because it develops so quickly that we don't have time to adapt. Understand? That's part of the problem is and that's why I tell everybody, don't shy away from AI, embrace it and try to figure out some way to use it to your advantage. It is an incredible tool. And honestly, I really do believe that in the next 5 years, anybody who has not taken the time to look at AI and find a way to use it and learn how to use it, they are going to be in trouble no matter what you do. Because this technology is going to become ubiquitous. That means everywhere. Ubiquitous is a word that means McDonald's is going to use it. And it might be even in the bathroom. When you go to the bathroom, there could be some AI assistant, maybe to tell you whether you have bacteria on your hands. And it's going to be in when you go to travel, your hotel, maybe it's going to be an AI receptionist. Look at McDonald's. Now when you go to McDonald's, you do it all yourself. Right? And there are fast food places here. When I drive up to the fast food window, I'm talking to an AI. There's no person. Right? So, I'm glad you're optimistic. But I do think it's going to have a tremendous change. I just had a meeting with my brother yesterday. My brother is an IT guy who works in IT. He has a company that does IT stuff. And even he said in December, when he saw ChatGPT version 3.0, he had to have a meeting with the CEO of the company. He's the president. He met with the CEO, and he said to this company CEO, he said, I'm scared because I really don't know where this is going to go in the next few years. And that's another problem. Most technologies, because they develop not too quickly, they take time to develop. There's time to adjust, and there's time to predict what will happen and adjust to that. But with AI, it's building and growing and developing so quickly that there is no way to predict. It's happening too quickly, right? So unfortunately, the next 5 to 10 years are going to be very, very, very difficult. Okay? Just one moment here. Yeah. Somebody said, I hate Mark. He's a bad man. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. You can't please everyone. So yeah, Tony, I think that, AI, you know what? I asked ChatGPT about AI and about how it's going to affect things in the future. And the answer it gave me, it said AI could benefit humanity tremendously if it's used in the right way. If it's used to benefit everyone, it will do great things for us. If it's used by the billionaires to benefit them, we're in trouble.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So if the billionaires, and there are only, like how many of them are there? It's like 100 people. 100 people. If 100 people decide what to do, yeah.
I want to ask that you use the ChatGPT model is 4.0 or 4.5.
I think I'm using 4.0 right now. Yeah.
Because the newest GPT is 4.5.
Ah, okay. Well, maybe I have to do an update.
It needs $20 1 month.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to do that or not. I pay for it, but that's because I use it a lot. I'm telling you to do what I do. I use it for my teaching. I use it to help me write my book. I use it to help me with my scheduling. I use it to talk about ideas. I use it to help me plan my lessons. I use it for many, many things. Yeah. Oh, Alex says the new one is 5.0. Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that news.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but see, look, that's what I mean. Look how fast it's developing.
Yes.
Usually,
So
it takes months or years before a new version comes out, but now these versions are coming out every week. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but AI, I still think it's an amazing technology. Here's what I want to tell you guys about. In the 1970s in the United States, there was a company, in the 60s and 70s, there was a company called Bell Labs. Bell Labs, it was a big company, and you could graduate from college in the 1960s and 70s and get a job at Bell Labs. They would pay you good money. At the time, it was really good money. The economy was great, so, things were cheap, and you could get, a good salary. And your job at Bell Labs, they would give you an office, and they would say, solve a problem. They would just say, figure out something that needs to be better and do it. That's it. Right? They had a bunch of people who would just sit around and try to think about how they can fix the world's problems. And they did many amazing things. If you type in Bell Labs and find out what did Bell Labs develop, they developed a lot, right? So guess what? I think AI has that potential. Some of you, when you ask AI questions, you ask it questions that are about your personal life. Like, how can I finish my homework? Or, or like something like that. But guess what, guys? Why not ask it big questions? Why not try to solve a problem that the world has? Maybe you can. Maybe you'll ask the right question to get the right answer that could change many things. So I ask AI about the economy of the world and general economics and how it's unjust and unfair and how could we fix that. I ask AI about how are we going to develop AI to benefit mankind and not destroy us all. I ask AI about things like how can we encourage people to find their talent more, develop themselves as a person more, right? So guys, AI is there. It's this amazing brain that you can use to explore ideas. You can explore concepts. You can try to pretend you work at Bell Labs and say, you know what? I noticed a problem and I want to solve it. Can you help me, AI? and it will. It will try to help you solve that problem. Okay? And can you imagine, guys, if everyone in the world was using ChatGPT and everyone tried to ask it about some problem the world has and how we can fix it, how many of those problems would get solved? Many of them. So instead of asking it how you can write your term paper, instead of asking it how you can finish your homework or how you can cheat on something, or even how you can learn, okay, great. If you want to learn English, that's great. That's wonderful. But that benefits you. What can you do with AI that might benefit everyone? I think you should think about that. Bell Labs. It's unfortunate. They got bought in the 1989, AT&T, the big company AT&T, they bought them. And guess what? They basically destroyed the company. And do you know why they destroyed the company? Because corporations don't really like it when you solve problems. Because problems are things they make money off of. So if you solve a problem, then that company can't make that money off that problem. So that's why they bought Bell Labs and destroyed it, basically. So, Riven says, but sometimes AI can't provide a correct answer in some areas. Of course, sometimes it can't. So let me ask you a question, Riven. If sometimes it can't and sometimes it can, does that mean you should never use it? It can sometimes give you the right answer, right? And it's going to continue to get better. Right now it hallucinates, right? Which means it lies. Sometimes it makes stuff up, right? That happened to me. I was working on my book, and I asked it to make a PDF file for me based on, what we talked about. And it said, okay, yeah, I can do that for you. I'm going to make a PDF for you. And it said, oh, but I need to do it later. I need to give it to you later because it's very big and I need to compile the data. And it said, I'll have it ready for you in 2 to 6 hours. Well, 6 hours went by and nothing, it didn't give me anything. So I went and I asked it. I said, hey, what happened? You said it was going to be finished in 2 to 6 hours. And it said, I'm still working on it. It'll be ready in an hour. And then I asked it in an hour and it still didn't have it ready. It was lying to me. It was lying. It was saying I'm going to do this, but it didn't. So it does have problems, but just because it's not perfect doesn't mean it's not great. Right? Yeah. So you just have to be careful and remember that whatever it says, you still need to think about it critically because it might be wrong. Right? So you still need to use your brain to critically think about things. But it's a really good way to talk about things, talk the problems through, discuss things, right? Yeah. So I like to use it that way. Hello, Tomas. Good to see you, my friend. Let's see. Paolo says you have to feed it in some ways in order to get the most precise information. Right. That's what I tell people is that AI is as smart as you are, which means if you ask it a smart question, if you give it the right prompt, it will give you a good answer most of the time. But if you ask it a stupid question, it will give you a stupid answer. Okay. So you have to be very specific about what you want. Yeah. Tomas, I would love to talk to you. I would love to talk to you. That'd be fine. I'll talk to you right after Tony here. So, an angel says, yeah, you can talk to it like a friend. It's good that way, too. Sometimes, today is, we live in a lonely world. People are busy. They don't have time to connect anymore, unfortunately. And social media really has made the world very interesting because we connect with more people, but we don't connect deeply. Right? So I have lots of followers here on Hello Talk, but I don't talk to most of them deeply. So that's not that valuable. because you can't really have a real relationship unless you talk deeply about things, right? So, yeah, AI does give you the opportunity. You can talk deeply to AI. You can ask it things that you wouldn't ask somebody else, you know? Raham says, I don't think it's a good idea to talk about your personal life with AI because it keeps the data and uses it every time you ask something. Actually, it doesn't, Raham. It is not programmed to remember forever. It is programmed to remember a conversation, and that's it. But believe me, it forgets stuff all the time. I have to tell it again and again, you know, hey, please do this for me. And then when I ask it, sometimes if I expect it to remember things, many times it does not. So I have to remind it often. Yeah. It was trained to not have a permanent memory because of security and because of privacy. Okay? Now that may change in the future, but we'll see. What about your friends, Tony? What do your friends think of AI?
A lot of friends, they are worried about the AI will take place their jobs. As my major, I can do the data analyze, and that time I saw a friend. He said that now AI can do that stuff and see that word. And
yeah, much better and much faster than you. Right. Yeah. There are certain jobs that are going to be much more likely to be cut. Coding, again, many coding jobs. Why do you need a coder when you've got, AI can do it in 5 seconds? It can give you something very quickly, Now, I agree with Riven says, I don't think we should rely on it, but it can be our assistant. I completely agree with that. So I think that it's still a tool that must be used by a person, right? For example, if I have a hammer, I could destroy my house with the hammer, or I could build a table. So the person who's using it is going to determine whether it's valuable or damaging. So yeah. But again, I think you need to, if I were that guy, if I were a data analyst, I would ask AI, I would say, like, help me, AI. I'm going to lose my job because of you. Please, what should I do? Tell me what I should do. You're going to steal my job, AI, and I'm worried. So you should talk to it and say, what should I do with this? I have this talent. I have this skill. I have this information. What can I do with that now if you steal my job? Ask it. Ask it, That's what I'm trying to get you guys to understand is you do the same thing with your brain every day. Every day we wonder about things. I wonder what would happen if this did. I wonder what would happen if we do this. I wonder. Use that on AI and wonder about what would happen if we had no more money, if we didn't use money anymore. What would happen? Could we have a world without money? Wonder what would happen if we could all understand each other without translation. If every language was immediately understood, how would that change the world? Wonder about it, and then ask AI and play through it. Play through the conversation. See what happens. That's tremendously valuable for many reasons. You might find a good answer to something, but it's also really good because I'll tell you what it reminds me of. Plato, the philosopher from Greece, Plato, he wrote a book called The Republic. And I love that book because The Republic is a book, it's a book about philosophy. But most philosophy books are really, really boring to read. But Plato's philosophy, it's basically just 5 or 6 guys, and they're talking and having some wine, and they're talking about a problem together. And they're saying, well, what would happen if our government was like this, then what would happen? And then they all argue about it. Well, this would happen, and probably this would happen, but this might not happen. They discuss it. They argue until they find an answer. That's what I do with AI. I do the same thing. I just say, hey, here's a problem. Let's talk about it. Let's see what happens. Can we find a solution to this problem? Can we find an answer? Can we understand it better? Maybe you can't find a solution. You often can't find a solution. But anyone who takes the time to understand the problems of the world more deeply, that's a good thing. We need more people in this world who understand the problems of this world deeply. But you can't do that unless you explore them. Yes.
I think as a big problem, the AI can't resolve because it is trained by human. I think like global warming and how long will the Earth live? The big problem that need a computer to build a model to predict that.
Well, yes, but guess what? That's coming soon too, right? So here's the other reason why this is going to get much scarier soon, okay? Because there's another technology that's also being developed right now, quantum computers. And once they combine quantum computers with AI, then we're in real trouble. A quantum computer is a computer that's more powerful than any other computer we've ever used in the world. And it can make processes, millions and millions and millions of processes in a second. So we now can ask it to solve problems that used to take 10 years or 20 years to solve. It can do it in a minute. Now, if you add AI to that, wow. Now you can say, cure cancer. Cure cancer, AI, please figure this out for me. And guess what? It will. I am actually pretty sure we will cure cancer pretty soon, I think, because it is solvable. It's just beyond our ability to understand. But it's not beyond the ability of AI plus quantum computing. If you put those two things together, many of our problems medically will be solved. That's one of the most positive things that will happen with AI. Is I do think AI is going to solve a lot of our problems with medicine, hopefully. But to be honest with you, the one thing that will stop that from happening, the one thing that will prevent AI from curing cancer, greed. Greed. There are always people who want to make money off of something, even when it's just a good thing, that you should just do it because it's a good thing. So unfortunately, like for example, in America, this might surprise you. The drug companies that make all the drugs we use here in America, they spend more money on advertising than they do on research. That is not a company that wants to solve a problem. That's a company that wants to make money.
Profitable.
That's right. Yeah. And that's sick because you're talking about medicine. You know, if you're trying not to cure people, but you're trying to just get money from them, that's a terrible, terrible thing. So that's what I'm trying to say is every governmental system that we've ever had, democracy, socialism, communism, all of them, they all have one big flaw. Do you know what that flaw is? Humans. We are weak. So when we get power, we do bad things. Right? Unfortunately, very few people have the ability to still remain pure when they get a lot of money and a lot of power. And so that's what I mean is, unfortunately, AI might be something that could solve a lot of problems, But there might be some people who say, yeah, but if you solve those problems, then I can't make this money. You know, that's not good, you know. But yeah, I like to talk to AI about things like that. Explain human greed. You know, I'll ask it something like that. Tell me, why are we greedy? You know, why do we do this to ourselves? You know, why are we lazy? Why do we do that to ourselves? Why do we think of education as only something to do when you're young? You know, I ask it the big questions. And sometimes that's good because it helps you, you know, it makes me feel better when I can explore these questions and I can come up with some sort of understanding a little bit better, then I feel better. It's like therapy. Yeah, it's like therapy. So, yeah, guys, just like you used to wonder when you were a kid, you know, why is the sky blue? Do that with AI, you know?
I have to go. It's too late now.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, Tony, but thank you for coming. And yeah, I hope I'm wrong, Tony. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that it doesn't destroy everybody's jobs. But I do think it's probably going to be, there will be probably a very difficult period of time when there's an adjustment where, yeah, for maybe 5 or 10 years, things might be pretty bad because the technology will go too fast and people won't be able to adapt quickly enough. And so, yeah, I think that it's going to hurt some people, unfortunately, before it can help. So, Tony, good luck to you, and keep thinking about it. Use that brain, but use it and talk to AI and explore some ideas, man. You know, solve a problem in the world. Think about Bell Labs. Okay? All right. Well, it was great to talk to you again, Tony. Take care. I'll see you next time, okay?
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Smart kid. Smart kid. I like to see kids like that are using their brain. They're using their brain to try to think about these things, you know? I just want to encourage you to do more. You know, again, I think that it's so funny that you have the ability to ask this new technology about many questions that you've had for your whole life. Even when you were a child, you had questions that you couldn't ask anyone because they couldn't answer them or they didn't know the answer. But now you do. Right? It's kind of like, you know, you wanted to learn English, but you didn't have a dictionary. Now you have a dictionary? Well, that's kind of useful. You should use it. You should look through and look at the words, right? Well, same thing. You know, now you have a new technology. You can ask it about everything from how to solve your simple problems in life. You know, how can I make food meals more easily for my family? Ask AI. How can I develop a system to make food for my family more easily every night so I don't spend so much time cooking dinner? Or ask it big questions like, how can we make another technology that's better than cars and planes? Just wonder, you know? It doesn't cost anything to wonder. But if you don't wonder, it could cost everyone everything. It doesn't cost you anything to wonder. But if you don't, it might cost everyone everything. Okay? Yes, I know DeepSeek. Dokai, Chabador. Chabador. Is it ethical to use ChatGPT for my job? That depends on how you use it. That depends on how you use it. It might be ethical. It might not be. ChatGPT versus DeepSeek, that's like rock and roll versus jazz. You don't argue about music, which music is better. They're different. They're both good. I like rock. I like jazz. I listen to both. Okay? How can you make money with AI? I don't know. Ask AI. But I will tell you that everyone asks about, how can I make money? I want to make $1 million. That's not a good way to use it. Okay? If you want to, I don't know what your business is. Whatever business you do, don't just ask AI, how can I make money? No, ask AI, how can I improve what I do in my business to make money? How can I use my talents or my skills to make more money? Don't just, yeah. Claire says, I think there's no way for that. There is. It can give you some suggestions of how you can make money, but it's not as easy as you think. It has already been done. Millions of people probably already have asked ChatGPT, make me rich. How can I be rich? Make me rich, please. But do you see any of them rich yet? No. But if you ask it, maybe you're an accountant. You're an accountant and you say, how can I use AI to help me with my accounting business to expand and have more clients? That it could probably do. That it can do. Right? Oh, you think Gemini is better? Yeah, I don't know. You know, again, I kind of feel like you're arguing about which diamond is the better diamond. Is this diamond better than this diamond? This one's blue and this one's pink and this one's white. I don't know. They're diamonds. Pick a diamond. You know, it's a silly thing to argue about which AI is better. Just use them. You know? And again, I did not tell you to rely on AI's answers. I want you to be critical of everything it says. Don't just take it like it's God and it tells you the answer and that's the answer. No. But I think you're missing a tremendous opportunity to explore ideas. If you don't use it, you're missing a tremendous opportunity to explore concepts, to explore ideas, to explore questions. Okay? All right, Tomas, are you there? Let's talk to Tomas. Sorry, Tomas, I almost forgot about you.
No, it's fine, Martin.
Hello, my friend. How are you? Good to see you again.
Fine, Martin. It's been a while, I tell you.
Yeah. How have you been?
I admit, I've been well, very involved in my personal research using a lot AI. It's my first time that I have been using it substantially. Now, I mean, with a concrete purpose and effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's about philosophy. Recently, I got interested and involved in philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
You quoted Plato.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, most ancient philosophers are Greek.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to go to watch the original text of them.
Yeah.
Because
that's right, the translations. Yeah. That's right.
You lose something.
That's right.
I don't know Greek. I didn't study.
Right.
AI translates it all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be wrong, but you can detect the text.
That's right.
And you make further questions.
Right.
Are you sure about this word? Oh, yes, I'm sorry. That can be also...
Right. That's why I said you have to question it. But many of you guys are so afraid of it that, you know what it's like? It's kind of like, let me ask you guys a question in the room here, all of you. Do you fly? Do you go on an airplane? Because airplanes are dangerous. They crash. That's not a perfect technology. Right? But I fly. And anybody who says, well, I won't fly because I think it's dangerous, I'm never going to fly. You understand that when you do that, you are limiting yourself and the experiences you can have in this world because you are afraid. So, using AI is like that. I didn't say it's God. I didn't say that you should believe every word that it says. I didn't say it's right all the time. What I said is it is the greatest technology that has been created in mankind's history. And it's absolutely silly if you don't try it.
Yeah.
It's that simple. That simple.
It's incredible. I couldn't imagine until 2 years ago that everybody in the world could have this tool free.
Yeah.
Always with them.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right. Yeah.
I would like, Mark, I would like to go back to high school.
I know,
with
right?
AI.
That's what I'm trying to say. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That was one of the first things I thought of was if I had had this tool when I was a kid in school, I could have asked it to help me to I don't understand this book. Please help me understand what I'm reading. I don't get it. You know, tell me, let's talk about it. Can you help me? Because I really don't understand. And guess what? You know how sometimes you keep saying, I don't understand, I don't understand. The teacher will get frustrated with you and eventually say, I can't help you anymore. AI won't. So you can just keep asking. I really don't understand. Can we keep talking about it? Because I still don't understand. And it will continue to try, right? So I could have been much better in math. Why? Because if I had this tool, then, you know, there were questions I wanted to ask that I was afraid to ask in class. You know, they don't have time to answer my questions. I'm too stupid. You know, I can't do it myself. Everybody else seems to be doing fine, but I can't do this math problem. But I don't want to ask because I'm afraid to ask. But if I had AI, I could have asked AI, you know, I'm really having trouble with calculus here. Please help me, you know, and it would, you know.
Moreover, Mark, in most cases, it's not that the student doesn't understand the teacher's explanation. It's quite the contrary. In 99% of cases, it's the teacher that doesn't understand the student's question.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
That's my experience.
No, I completely agree.
Another thing. I asked another thing.
Right.
They started talking about something else, which was in the middle of the sentence of my question.
Right.
But that was just the premise.
Yeah.
The question was another one.
I agree.
And they start talking about another thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen with
That's
AI.
one of the things about being a teacher is I think that I had a tremendous advantage because before I became an English teacher, I was a music teacher. And when you teach music, it's private lessons, one-on-one. So I had 73 students a week, 73 individual private lessons per week. And each one of those students, I had to learn how to teach that student. I had to understand each individual student, and I had to be able to explain the information to them in a different way, every single one of them, right? But many teachers, they never have that experience. They don't know, or they just don't have the ability. They just don't have the ability to explain the same idea 20 different ways to 20 different kids. They just don't have it. But again, you're right. AI would be great for that. You know? Yeah.
Yes. You mentioned earlier not only the translations from Greek, but you know, those pages of philosophy, I don't know why authors, instead of simply saying 4 sentences, this, then this, they start talking very weirdly. You get lost in 2 pages. This says a simple concept in the middle of 3 pages of discourses. You get lost. You make the screenshot of the book, of the page, you don't understand anything in the page, ask the AI, in 1 second, you have the perfect explanation. That's crazy.
Right. I completely agree. Yeah. One moment. I want to try something here. Let me see if I can find this thing.
I really, besides saying it's very useful, first, I would like to point out the surprise. I'm still, every time I use it, I get surprised. I get astonished.
Right. Yeah, and you know what? That's what I think is so funny. Because, again, you know, one thing I'm happy about is I've never lost my sense of wonder. Right? So even as a child, when I was a boy, I had wonder. But I'm an adult, I still have wonder. But do you know what? I really do feel like most adults have lost their sense of wonder. And that's why AI is not that impressive to you. It would be if you had wonder, but what happened to your wonder? What happened to your sense of, I want to know more about the world? What happened to that? You know, every day I see things I don't understand and I want to know more about. I don't understand when you walk through life and you don't have questions. What is wrong with you? You know? Yeah. You know, I talked to my sister the other day. She does not use AI at all. And I was kind of arguing with her about it. And I was like, Janie, you know, she's like, I don't want to use it, and I don't understand it. And I said, there's nothing to understand. You ask it a question, that's it. You know, and Thomas, there was a group of people in the United States a long time ago. They were called the Luddites. Luddites. Have you ever heard of the Luddites before?
No, I cannot recognize. I don't know the acronym.
Yeah, the Luddites, it was a group of people. They were a religious group, kind of like the Amish, right? Kind of like the Amish. The Amish people, they don't like to use technology, right? Well, the Luddites were, they were super into this idea that technology is bad. They didn't use any technology for anything at all. And I mean nothing. Nothing that qualifies as a tool would be used, right? Now, guess what? There are no more Luddites anymore.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we use this word. We use this word. It's a word to describe somebody who's afraid of technology. So we say, what are you, some kind of a Luddite? You know? And it's like, what's wrong with you? And I told my sister, Janie, you're starting to sound like a Luddite. This is not a difficult tool to use, right? All you have to do is talk to it. That's it. That's all you have to do. There's nothing hard about it. You know? So, yeah.
Well, I would say, Mark, it's the next step of Google.
Right.
We use it.
Right, right. Yes, that's right. That's a perfect example. Tomas, how many of you guys Google stuff? And Google is wrong all the time. Google gives you bad answers all the time, but you still Google things and you look for the answer, right? It's the same. Just use AI to ask a question and then look for the answer. That's all. Look for the answer. You know?
I have another point for those who are afraid of the AI being wrong. I make you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are the books always correct? Are university professors always correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And you know what? Sometimes people ask me, they say, Mark, I want to be a teacher, but I don't know everything. Should I teach? Can I teach? And I tell them, you don't have to know everything to be a teacher. You just have to know more than the student. That's it. That's it. You just have to know more than the student. And what I tell people is teachers are not gods. Teachers are guides.
Wow.
They're
Good, that's
guides. They just know more than you do. Okay, so God made the mountain. Okay, the guy he didn't make the mountain, but he knows it really well. He knows it better than you. So you should ask the guide to help you up the mountain. Well, that's what this is. This is a guide. This is a guide. It's just another guide. Now, I'm not saying you should trust it. I'm not saying you should trust it. As a matter of fact, I want you not to trust it. I want you to question it a lot. So ask it a question. When it gives you an answer, question that answer. Whatever it says is the answer, I want you to say, are you sure that's the answer? Tell me why that's the answer. Be critical. Really give me an answer. Keep questioning it. That's the way to do it. So I want to show you guys something very quickly here. This is a quote from Shakespeare from one of my favorite plays, from Henry V. Okay, here, let me make it bigger for you guys so you guys can see it. Hold on. So this is from Henry V, okay, by Shakespeare. And this is my favorite part of this play. There's a great movie version of this with Kenneth Branagh. If you've never seen it, it's great. You should go see it. So, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Be he never so vile, this day shall gentle his condition. And gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whiles any speaks that fought with us on St. Crispin's day. Well, guess what? That's hard to understand, isn't it? That's hard to understand. It sounds like powerful words, but it's hard to understand. Well, guess what? Now explain this in simple language. We are just a small group, but we're lucky and proud to stand together like brothers. Anyone who fights beside me today will be like a brother to me. No matter what his background is, this day will make him noble. And later, the men who stayed home in England and didn't fight, they will feel ashamed they weren't here. And they'll feel less proud of themselves whenever someone talks about the brave men who fought with us on Crispin's Day. That's brilliant! That's brilliant. You take the words of Shakespeare, and now I can understand them. That's brilliant.
It does the same even if you don't digit the text on it, and just you take a picture of the page.
Yeah, does that too. Yeah.
Not a very good picture.
Yeah.
A bit blurry.
Yeah.
It can detect it.
Yeah.
And answers.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. You can also say, like, if you're asking a specific question, maybe about a website, right? You saw a website and you have a question about this website. Well, guess what? You can post the link and ask it, and it will look at the whole website, and then you can say, well, what is this about, and what can it do, and is it good, and whatever. You can, or a PDF file. You can ask it to read a PDF file. So it could be a 500-page PDF file, and you can upload it. It knows everything right away. And now you can ask it questions. Hey, I need to study this 500-page manual. Can you explain it to me easily? So maybe you have a new job and you have to work on a new piece of equipment, right? Right? So there's a new machine in your business, right? And in that machine, they gave you a PDF file. You can ask it to teach you how to use this machine. Right?
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
I have to try.
Yeah, it does lots of stuff. You can give it a link, and it will read the link. You can give it a PDF file. It'll read the PDF file. The only thing it can't do yet, it can do pictures. It can't do video yet. That will be amazing.
Okay.
So if you ask it to watch a video, it cannot do that. And the reason why is because time does not really exist. Time is something that we created for humans to understand the world. But when it comes to AI doesn't understand time. And so when you ask it to watch a video, it's not watching time. It's watching the only way to make it work is in it. I'm sure they're working on this already. It can look at one picture and then analyze the one picture. So it will have to analyze every frame of a video, right? It will have to look at, if one video is 1 minute long and it has 2,000 frames in that 1 minute, it will have to look at 2,000 pictures and then analyze that. I'm sure that's coming at some point soon, but yeah. But right now, if you ask it to watch a video, it can't do that yet, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
Okay. You are saying you can post a link of the video. The AI watch the video and refers to you.
Yeah, it can't do that yet, but in the future that's coming, I'm sure. Right now it can only do pictures, PDFs, files, and things like that. Mental says, don't you think using AI for every tiny problem, it doesn't let your brain think about it? Mental, again, I didn't tell you not to use your brain. I didn't tell you not to try to solve problems. But here's the thing. Are you? Are you using your brain to solve any problems? Because most of you aren't. So when you say, but maybe we shouldn't use it to solve everything because, then we won't use our brain to solve problems. But some of you aren't even using your brain to solve problems. So,
I don't understand this fear. Mental.
Yeah.
AI is like a book.
Right.
Do you block people consulting a book?
Yeah.
No, don't consult a book because you have to use your brain.
That's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. And guess what? Mark Twain has one of my favorite quotes. Some of you, let me ask a question, guys. How many of you don't like to read? How many of you don't like reading? Please tell me. I don't like reading. Say me. If you don't like reading, say me in the chat. Don't be embarrassed. It's okay. I know many people don't like reading. So Lissa doesn't like reading. Maciel doesn't like reading. Who else doesn't like reading? John doesn't like reading. Okay. Some of you like it. That's good. Okay. But here's what Mark Twain said about reading. There is no real difference between someone who can't read and someone who doesn't read. So let me ask you this, guys. What do you feel if you see a person in this world who cannot read? How do you feel about them? You feel, oh, that's sad. That's so sad they can't read, right? Well, guess what's even sadder? You can read and you don't. That's even sadder. So this is like that. I'm not asking you, this is not a perfect thing. Nobody's calling AI perfect. I'm saying it's powerful. I'm not calling it perfect. I'm calling it powerful. Right? And that's what you need to remember about reading. Reading is just like another technology. Okay? And if you choose not to read, that's like choosing ignorance. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I am checking this verb. Yes.
That's okay.
Okay. Yes. It's like when you check a book, the book may be wrong.
That's right.
So you don't have to take for granted
That's right.
what a book says.
That's right.
You take the information and then you have always to elaborate it. The same with AI. You take the information and you always elaborate it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
It's just enormously bigger amount of information compared to one or two books you can consult.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So,
on the contrary, because of this enormously bigger amount of information, it triggers your brain much more. You have to activate your brain much more because you have more information.
That's right. Yeah. Again, I use it every day. And I play with I play with it. It's a tool. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of when I was a boy and I used to love to play in the sandbox. And in the sandbox, you can make a sand castle, and you build things, and then you wreck it, and then you build something else. And, you know, it's creative. It's a creative act. And when I use AI, I feel like there are a million things I could ask it. There are a million things I could to explore, you know. I've never been good at math. I would like to be better. And I think it could help me with that. It could help me understand better. Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare. But there are times when it's even hard for me, an English teacher, to understand it clearly. How brilliant was that? That now you can just ask it, you know, hey, I want to read, A Midsummer Night's Dream, and I want to understand it. Help me understand Shakespeare. It will. If you read any book from anywhere, you can say, you know, hey, I'm reading this book. Can you please help me understand it better? And it will. Now, again, put it this way, guys. Do you understand how silly it is that you spend most of your energy arguing about why you shouldn't use it rather than just trying it? You know? You guys are spending a lot of energy arguing about, oh, but it's not good for this, and but what about this, and but what about this?
No, Mark, I remember, I am old enough to remember the word before internet.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Probably also in the USA, but USA, the mentality is more now to accept new technologies.
Sure, yeah, yeah.
In Italy, it's more conservative, you know.
Yeah.
For many years, the first many years of Google, internet, parents used to tell children, oh, be careful, don't go on internet, don't go on Google.
Yeah. Right.
It's been from 90s over the 2000. It was just after 2005, 2006 that everybody freely and safely conceived internet. Before,
right.
It was all an alert. Oh, be careful! Don't go on internet. Don't use Google.
Yeah, and remember,
it's
guys,
dangerous.
When I was a boy in elementary school, in junior high school, when I needed to write a book report, when I needed to go write a book report, I had two ways to do it. I could go to the library and get a bunch of books and try to read some of them to understand, or I could get an encyclopedia. Okay? And an encyclopedia, my family, we had a set of encyclopedias in my house from A to Z. And what is an encyclopedia? Many of you don't even know what an encyclopedia is, I'm sure. Encyclopedias, they were a series of books that were alphabetical, kind of like a dictionary, and they told you everything that they knew about the world. Before Google, that was the best information we had. So I could look up, you know, the country of Germany, and it would have maybe a page or maybe a page and a half about Germany. That's it. That was all the knowledge that I had about Germany. One page. But now, look what we can do. Right? That's shocking. It's shocking. It's incredible. I could learn nearly everything about the German culture now just by asking AI. You know?
That's crazy.
Yeah, yes. It's crazy. You know?
Moreover, my mother used to sell encyclopedias. How do you say door by door when you knock?
My mom too. That's why we had them. She got that job because she wanted us to have encyclopedias. So she got a job selling them so that she could get a discount and buy them for our family. Yeah.
It costed a lot.
Yeah, they cost a lot of money. Yeah, they were expensive. Yeah.
You could buy an encyclopedia once every 20 years.
Yeah, right. They were expensive. Yeah.
It took a lot of time to write it for the authors.
That's right. Yeah.
So it took a lot of time to print it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you had the encyclopedia, and it costed a lot too, the information was actually quite old. Now, it dates back to at least 10 years earlier. So now,
Right.
you were happy. It seemed
That's
you
right.
had the highest knowledge of the
Right.
world.
Yeah.
But actually, it was old.
It's
no?
old. Right. That's exactly
Now,
right.
Yes, I think they don't print anymore encyclopedia, but every house had an encyclopedia. Every house, it wasn't necessary.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to ask AI a question. I'm going to see. I don't know if it'll answer this or not, but I'm going to try to see if it can find something for me. Let's see. Can you show me an entry from the World Book Encyclopedia about...
I think they don't print them anymore, Mark.
They
I don't know.
don't. They don't. But I'm curious if it has that access to that. Maybe historically, it might. Let's find out. From, let's say, 1988. Okay, so it said, I asked it, can you show me the entry from the World Book Encyclopedia about the country of Germany from 1988? And it said, I know you're interested in the content of the 1988 edition of the World Book Encyclopedia regarding Germany. Due to copyright restrictions, I can't provide the full text of that specific entry. However, I can offer a summary of Germany's status around 1988, which should reflect the same information you'd find in that edition, right? So it's not exactly the same thing, but I want to just show you guys, if I wanted to learn about the country of Germany in 1988, this is all I could get. Okay? Would be about this much information, right? Let's see. Right? So here it is. And it talks about the political landscape, and it says the economic interview, or the viewpoint, right? And again, it's very short, right? It's very, very short. Not much here, okay? It's probably had more than that in the encyclopedia, but not much more. Really not much more. I wish we still had one. I think we got rid of all of our encyclopedias, but if I can find one, I'll bring it and show you guys, because I want you to understand, Tomas and I, we grew up before computers and before the internet, and that's why we are much more impressed than you, because we understand how much more powerful this tool is for you to learn about the world. You could read and memorize everything in the encyclopedia and still be considered pretty stupid today, because that's not a lot of information. But if you have access to, the AI now, you can understand things at a much, much greater depth. Yeah.
About new technologies, Mark, people couldn't ever realize how difficult it was back to the day. In the
Right.
day,
Yeah.
to call a girl you wanted to
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
when there were only house
Right.
phones,
That's right.
the mother or the father
Would answer.
at
Right.
that
That's
place.
right. Yeah. Yes.
That's
It's a different
totally other
world. Different world. Yeah.
People cannot realize your fear to just to call the girl. Wow. And when the father answered as a teenager, 15 years.
Right. Yeah. 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 Please, sir, I was hoping to talk to your daughter, sir. If that would be okay, sir. Right.
She's busy. She's busy.
Who are you? She's busy. That's right. Yeah. Exactly.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, Mark, if we can continue, I don't know how much time do you have, and
No, go ahead. What?
No, I have a topic. I had a topic today. I don't know if you want to talk about this, but just it's something so interesting to me. So I would have liked to propose it that you decide if talk about it, how much talking about it. Simply that. If you agree,
Okay, sure.
okay. So I start with a question because I would like to realize how much the news has been spread all over the world. Have you heard about the research about pyramids in Egypt?
I have. I'm extremely skeptical. I'm very, very skeptical.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew you were, Mark. I knew you were. Everybody's first reaction is to be skeptical. More than skeptical,
Yeah.
denying.
Yeah.
But I just it seemed to me to be something different. So I went to check, Mark. I'm not saying the final consequences, the final statements are correct, real, we have those cylinders. I'm not saying that, but the research is absolutely serious, Mark. It's not a theory, it's not a new theory based on old knowledge. No. It's a new technique, scientific. They applied it and they had tomographies.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Which they have used that all over the world to find things under the ground. But the problem is, the only problem is that usually when they use that technology, it's the depth that they're trying to scan down into the earth is not that deep, and there are not that many things in the way. But in this particular case, you have a pyramid in the way. And so, and the depth that they're going below, where they claim that they're able to see below the earth, most scientists that I've read said that's not likely or accurate, that it can't accurately give you any information at that depth yet. And Tomas, I wanted to believe this because I've been studying about the pyramids and the Egyptians since I was a boy, right? But there's no so far there have been no articles that I could find or data or anything whatsoever from any actual respectable source of archaeology at all, right? So far, there's a bunch of there are many reports about this, but they're all on pages that are like, you know, they talk about aliens and stuff like that, you know.
I understand you, Mark. I know scientific channels. So far, we have just YouTube now because it's too early to have scientific publications. So there are on YouTube. You have very scientific channels, divulgations channels, and fake news channels. Okay, I checked everything, even the most scientific ones.
Yeah.
They didn't have a good look at the research. They answer just on the already known things.
Yeah.
They didn't get. One moment, Mark.
Okay, go ahead.
They say we cannot go scamming.
That deep.
Scamming, the right place, scanning maybe underground because electromagnetic waves don't penetrate the matter.
Not that deep, right? Yeah.
No, not at all. Just very, very highly energetic photons can go by. It's impossible.
Right.
Okay. Who made the research? It's not question of archaeologists, Mark. It's just question of scientists. Archaeologists cannot understand this because archaeologists come in when it's about the interpretation. We have.
That's correct.
We are on the state. Okay. Are are these tomographies trustworthy or not? It's not question of archaeology. It's question of scientific. The man who led the research is highly educated in that. He's dedicated all his life to radar. He's an academic, actually, he's a professor. So he invented a new technique. It's not the photons to go underground. He invented, he found a way to associate phonons, that means the sonic waves, to the photons. So the satellite sends a beam of photons. When the photons hit the ground, a part bounces back. A little part becomes phonons, and the phonons, yes, they can go to the mother as much as the mother is hard, is better for the phonons. So they go, when they found about something, phonons underground, they bounce back to the surface, and that's all scientific. The surface, there are the evanescent waves, which are, again, electromagnetic waves. And the phonons interact with these evanescent waves, very, very weak waves, but they interact and they change them from the satellite. Again, they can scan these electromagnetic waves modified by the photons coming back from underground. With an algorithm, they developed algorithm, they transform this information in images.
Right. They've been using this technology, like I said, they have been using this technology very successfully for the last 10 years or so. For example, in South America, they've found many ruins that they could not see before. They were covered by jungle, and they didn't look like anything. When you just looked at the ground, you couldn't see anything that looked like anything. But now they can see the patterns using this technology, and they've used it to discover that. They have also used it to help them find, or I think they're trying to use it to help them find, like, for example, soldiers who are missing in action, you know, like trying to find bodies that are left over, right, and things like that. So, yeah. Tomas, I think my big problem with what they did was that if you're going to do something new, go ahead.
Mark, one moment. I finish. Finish. Before pyramids, they tested it. They tested the new. It's a new technique. It's not that one of the South American jungles.
Okay.
It's another technique.
Okay.
They tested it where under kilometers of rocks, so tunnels inside the mountains, and they can scan. They could scan it. Okay, they could detect it. One of them was beside my house, Mark. So in the images, there is my house.
Oh wow!
So yeah. So it worked. It worked in my house. The tunnel in Switzerland, between Switzerland and Italy, and the Mosul Deen in Iraq, with lots of cement. Right. They could scan. So it's trustworthy. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. There are the 8 cylinders under the pyramids. That's the further consequences. But we have something really scientific. Right. It's not a theory.
So my big problem is if they knew they were going to do something so groundbreaking, the smartest thing they could have done would be to involve all of the relevant people. And they didn't. And that makes me skeptical. And everybody wanted to know, what does skeptical mean? Skeptical comes from, it was a group of Greeks a long time ago called the skeptics, who basically, they were doubters. right? Let's just say that they believed that life was better when we tried to follow the natural ways of doing things, and they would doubt anything that's modern technology or modern ways of doing things. So to be a skeptic means to doubt things, right? So the reason why I doubt them is because, it's like when somebody says, we found an alien, but then they didn't bring anybody with them to actually has any knowledge about that stuff, Yeah.
Now we have the tomography, Mark. We have the tomography.
Right. And so if they have that and they give that data to the actual, I think you need to connect with the paleontologists and archaeologists and the anthropologists. You need to get the anthropologists and the archaeologists and them on board. Why? Because anything you find, you cannot tell me what it is with just the tomography. You need the scientific historical data to go with it so that you can understand the picture, right? And so I'm hoping that they will. I'm hoping that those people will get the information and start looking at it and saying, okay, well, let's try to make sense of this. Let's try to make a story that makes sense. Why does this exist? But when they come out and say,
there's no sense. There's no sense with 8 cylinders, 1 kilometer long, deep into the ground. There's no archaeologists can answer this.
But they can, though. They can.
In everything, not only in Egyptian history, not only in history in general, it's a revolution about everything.
Right, but Tomas, if you want to know about what happened there, it would help if you asked people who have been studying there for a long time. But if you just go and say, well, I found this data, so it must mean this. No, I have problems with that. I have big problems with that. So I think they found something, but I don't think they know what it is. And I'm very skeptical because the first thing they did was come out and say they had these cylinders were used to make power, and they were this amazing technology. I got in my Facebook, I got all kinds of things about how, they found these power things and that it was the most amazing technology. You don't know that.
No. That's the interpretation.
Right.
And they were very clear. They said, we don't know what it is.
Okay.
We can just make hypotheses.
Yeah.
They said.
Right.
We have 1, 2, 3 hypotheses. One is this, one is that. Just hypotheses. Okay?
Right.
They were very clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Then people who report them, people like to impress, so they report always the most impactful theory, the most impactful images, okay? But that was a side of the scientific work, and they are going to publish it, Mark. I repeat you, it's not about theory of some archaeologists or some writers. It's a very educated man, always involved in radar technology. He's an academic in radar technology.
Tomas, I was very skeptical. Because I respect you, I'm going to look into it more. And see what can happen with that. But I'm still pretty skeptical. Yeah. So what I just did? Guess what I just did? Look at this. Yeah. I went ahead and I asked it. I said, tell me about this new discovery in the Egyptian pyramids and tell me why it's important, right? And look, recent reports have surfaced claiming the discovery of a vast underground city beneath Egypt's pyramids of Giza. Researchers from Italy and Scotland using synthetic aperture radar (SAR) technology allege they've identified extensive subterranean subterranean structures, including vertical shafts, spiral staircases, and interconnected chambers extending over a mile beneath the pyramids. These findings have ignited significant debate within the archaeological community, Prominent Egyptologists and radar archaeology specialists such as Dr. Zahi Hawass and Professor Lawrence Conyers have criticized the study, labeling it as fake news and questioning the validity of the radar techniques employed. They argue that the methods used are incapable of detecting structures at such depths and emphasize the absence of peer-reviewed evidence supporting these claims. So I do kind of still agree with that. Like, you need peer review. If you don't have peer review, then it's not that, So once they do that, then I'll be happy,
Yes, but I'm not saying, I repeat, I'm not saying it's like that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying
it's interesting.
It's not a fantasy theory.
Yeah.
It's a scientific matter that must be confirmed, of course. But
right.
It's a scientific technique. Just that.
I think they found something. I'm looking forward to what they do with it. I want them to find more. But usually when these things happen, these big discoveries, unfortunately, a lot of people kind of take advantage and they start using it because it's a very easy way to get likes on Facebook or get people to talk, right? So now Facebook is inundated with people saying, "Oh, the aliens did it," and oh, they must have been aliens or whatever. There's all these people saying all these crazy things. I'm waiting for the scientists to all get together and write a formalized, peer-reviewed report that I can read and see what's really involved. Yeah.
Before that, they made the public conference in Bologna. I don't know why it's come out this news. The study is Italian, Scottish. No, it's 100% Italian. No, they are free. No, it's not even Italian. They are free researchers. Free independent researchers that happened to be Italians, but it's just about them. They were very clever. So I saw also on a YouTube video they talked about Scottish Italian. Not at all.
So here's what it says. The researchers behind these claims are Professor Corrado Malanga from Italy's University of Pisa and Filippo Biondi from the University of Strathclyde in Scotland. So Biondi, he's Italian, but he goes to a Scottish school.
No. He's academic now in Scotland, but all the research was independent.
Right.
It's not part of his...
So, but then here's my other problem is that, do you know what articles it shows when you look at the articles to say, well, where did you get this information? It's from The Sun, the New York Post, the U.S. Sun. Those are what we call rags. Those are not real newspapers. These are the newspapers that publish stuff about aliens have landed, So I'm waiting. I want to see the New York Times. I want to see the Atlantic write something about it. I want to see a proper journalistic organization write a report about what happened. Because so far, not one legitimate journalistic group have made any reports about this. Not yet.
No, because they have not published the scientific article yet. They just made the public conference
discovery
presentation.
Right. Yeah.
And they explained this. They said, in the past, we did the contrary. We first published the article, then the book, and eventually we made conferences. But guess what? When was the time to make conference? People used to tell us, it's all here. We already know this. No? So because they had read the article, they had read the book. So at the moment of the conference, so this time they have proceeded in the opposite way. First conference, the article is going to be published these days, next days. Then there will be the scientific debate. And if some scientists would confirm, there will be some publication also.
Right.
In those.
And that's what I'm looking forward to, is I want to see more in-depth study. I want to read more. I don't want to just hear about this fantastic discovery that was amazing. It's kind of like, you know what, Tomas, every year in America, somebody says they found Bigfoot. You know?
No, it's not. No, Mark, no, let's not mingle this. We have tomographies.
Yes, but they
not,
have. There are many people who say, I have hair from Bigfoot. I have footprints from Bigfoot. I have, pictures of Bigfoot.
No, Mark, it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing because they have the tomography also of the tunnels.
Okay.
It's not only,
but I'm not saying I'm not saying they didn't find something. They found something, Tomas. They found something, but I don't know what that thing is yet. Just like the Bigfoot people. Yeah, you found some hair, but how do I know? But wait. But how do I know it's Bigfoot hair? Yes, you found a footprint, but how do I know it's a Bigfoot footprint? Yes, you have a picture, but how do I know it's Bigfoot? So, yes, they have tomography. Yes, they found something. But that's where they should stop. They should stop right there. They should just stop and say, we found something.
There is another element. They didn't just find something below the pyramid. They tested it on already known structures, such laboratory, quantistic physics laboratory under kilometers of mountain rocks, and it worked. They tested it on tunnels, again under kilometers of rock, and it worked.
Okay, I didn't say it didn't work. Okay. I didn't say it didn't work, and I didn't say they didn't find something. What I said is, I think they don't know what they found. I think they don't know quite what it is yet. They have no idea what the purpose is. They have no idea who made it, why they made it. They found something, and I'm excited that they found something, but...
Exactly.
But many people have jumped to many conclusions, and they've said, yeah. So
it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They said, we don't know what is this.
Okay.
Indeed, we would like to go there and test on the place, on the spot. But guess what?
Right.
Zaha was always denies.
Yeah. Egypt is a little funny about that kind of stuff. Like, there are sometimes when the Egyptian government I watch a lot of Egyptian historical shows on TV, and they always talk about how difficult it is to get the permits to come there. I watched one not long ago, and these guys discovered a new sarcophagus with a mummy in it, right? And they had permits to be able to dig it up and do it, but guess what? Then their permit ended that month, and now they're not able to get another permit for like 2 or 3 years. They can't come back to study it again for another 3 years. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. I understand the Egyptian government does have a very important role to play because the pyramids have 2 values. They have a scientific, historical value, and they have a tourist value. Right? And so they're trying to preserve both of them. The tourist aspect, it's one of the biggest things why do people go to Egypt? To see the pyramids, right? That's the number one reason why they go to Egypt, is to see the pyramids and the Sphinx and stuff, right? So they have to preserve that, and that's good. But on the other hand, they have a duty. They have an obligation to the world. Because, yes, Egyptians made that technology, but that technology, what they did, the pyramids and the Sphinx, all of that has important ramifications for the entire world. So they protect it like, well, this is ours, and we have to protect it like it's ours. But if they study it, the things they learn will affect everyone. So I feel like sometimes they're a little too protective, and they don't understand the responsibility that they have to let people come study it so that we can understand better. you know? But again, these are the kinds of things that, you know, when people say Elon Musk is a brilliant man and whatever, if he was so brilliant, then why doesn't he take a good $100 million and dump it into Egypt, and then we learn everything? Pay for all the permits, pay for all these scientists to come study it, and then we get it done. We get it done. $100 million, he farts that on a regular basis. You know, like, he makes $100 million every time he sneezes. So he could solve, you know, he could use that money to actually give us real data about real things that we really need to do. But no, this guy wants to go to Mars. I know a lot of you think he's smart, but honestly, in the future, you're going to find out he was one of the dumbest smart guys of all time. Actually, no, I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to say that Elon Musk is the dumbest genius of all time. He's the dumbest genius of all time, because there has never been a man who is so smart and so dumb at the same time. He doesn't know when to shut his mouth. That's a very simple thing. It's a very simple thing. There are some times when he doesn't know when to shut up. That is the most simple. What do we say? What do we say? There's a quote about it. Let me think. What's the quote? I can't remember. There's a quote, but basically it means that if you hear somebody who's talking a lot, they don't have much to say. And that guy never actually shuts up. He never shuts up.
Okay.
You know? So anyway, I don't want to get into a Musk debate here, but the point is just that you know, I want to see more. I want to see more of this. I'd like to see more of this. I hope it's actually really interesting. You know, it could be mind-blowing. It could be amazing. You know, let's hope that there's something worth studying there. It's not that often. It's not that often that we find something this big. You know,
I tell you mine, Mark. Of course, it will be mind-blowing. No, more than mind-blowing. It will change everything. For everyone in the world, it will change everything. Okay,
we'll see.
We should rewrite everything. Okay.
Maybe.
Despite that, to me, okay, it doesn't change our actual life.
Yeah.
It will be so interesting because I know there's God. God created us. There have been someone who did great things in the past. It doesn't change much to me if they were aliens or ancient civilizations or the ancient Egyptians. It's just incredible. Someone did it. Good. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They just discovered, just recently, they discovered a new kind of plant that it's an ancient prehistoric plant. And they used to think that these were a kind of conifer tree, like a Christmas tree. They used to think it was like an ancient Christmas tree, right? A prehistoric Christmas tree. But they found out, no, we were wrong. It wasn't that at all. It's actually a kind of mycelium. It's a kind of mushroom, actually. And they were the largest structures on Earth. They were the largest plants on Earth for a long time. But we just figured that out. We just found them. We misinterpreted the data before. We saw something, but we thought it was just old Christmas trees that had decayed. But now they have new technology, and they discovered that there were these new things, you know? That is how science works. Science is never finished understanding the picture. Science is always trying to redraw the picture to understand it better every day. Every single day, they try to take the new data they have and rewrite things to understand things better. And to some people, that means science doesn't know what they're talking about. No, it means that that's how the world works. When you learn something new, you reevaluate. You reevaluate every time you learn something new. That's normal. That's not weird. If you don't reevaluate when you learn something new, you won't be here very long. If you learn that the lion will eat you, hey, I learned that the lion will eat me. Well, that's good to know. I should stay away from the lion. If you don't learn that, you're going to be eaten, right? So you have to keep learning. You have to keep reevaluating, and it's tricky because there are always some people who, when your job requires you to believe something, then it's hard to get you to change that belief because your entire life is based around that belief, right? So if you believe something strongly, there are always people in every industry, like there are people who are Egyptologists who believe this one thing so strongly that they're not going to listen to anyone else, right?
Yeah.
That's part of their belief system. It's like their religion. You're trying to question their religion, and they're not going to hear you, Yeah.
That's why you haven't seen any articles yet, because that, of course, will break every conception.
We'll
of
see.
Academic world.
We'll see.
So
I'm a cynic. I'm a cynic, Tomas, but I'm not so much of a cynic that here's why I don't believe that. Because if they're
cynic,
yeah,
a cynical.
Yeah, right, cynical, right, that's right, cynic. A cynic, which is like a skeptic, right? A cynic is like somebody who believes like, nah, that's never going to work. It's kind of like pessimistic, right? To be cynical, it means you always think things are going to go bad. You always think things are going to be people always have the worst interest, right? The worst reasons, right? But all of the journalists in the world, all of the real journalists in the world, not one of them wants to put their neck out and say something. Not one. Not one. That's hard for me to believe because that's what humans do. Humans always want to be the guy who says, I'll say it. So I'm waiting.
Mark, it's not an exception that all journalists of the world act in the same way,
right,
towards one news. Actually, unfortunately, we lost the plurality of the information in everything now. All journals, all TV channels present all the same things.
Yes and no.
In the same way. In Europe, is this? We don't live anymore in a democracy.
No, you're mostly right. You're mostly right. The same thing is true in America, and you can see it. It's not hard to find that. But I still know human nature, and humans break rules. That's what we do. So when you tell me when you take the candy away from the baby, does the baby stop wanting the candy? No. So that's what I'm saying is it's hard for me to believe because, yeah, I understand that there are 4 billionaires that own all of the media companies, and so they do control the narrative a lot. But I still believe human nature is stronger than that. And so I still believe that if there is something truly important to say, someone is going to stand up and say it at some point. They will break the system and they'll say, yeah, I know these guys are saying it's not true, but I see it. I think it's true. So I'm waiting for that. But it's still new, Tomas. So we still have time. We still have time to see if someone will step up and actually say, yeah, this looks legitimate. This doesn't look like some kind of a Loch Ness Monster Bigfoot thing. This looks real, Yeah.
Mark, as much as the news may be mind-blowing, it's not more important than a genocide we are witnessing.
That's true.
And nobody's talking about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. So that was the other thing I was going to say is that was the other thing I was going to say is to be honest with you, as important as this might be, it's not that important with all the crazy stuff going on in the world right now. I don't really have too much time to read about Egyptology right now because there are too many things to pay attention to that are important, right? Vadim is talking about democracy as a myth, but guys, democracy is a construct. It's not a myth, it's a construct. A construct means this is a concept that we created in our minds. Every governmental system is a construct. It doesn't exist in reality. There is nothing. You can't touch democracy. You can't touch it. You can't hold it. It's an idea. It's a concept. And every concept has flaws because of one simple fact. Every concept is a concept of humans, and humans are flawed. We're always going to be flawed. So that means that, I don't think democracy is a myth. I think that democracy is a concept that has a lot of flaws, and those flaws are always changing because of who is running it. So there are some times when democracy is better because the people who are running it have a better sense of what democracy really is. And then there are some times when democracy doesn't have any value because the people running it don't have any sense of what democracy is about. So it's all about human nature at the end of the day. Humans are the ones who screw everything up. Democracy didn't do it. Humans did it. Every one of these systems, it's always a person. It's not a concept that screwed up everything. It's a person. It's people who screwed up everything. And that's why religions say we're all flawed. That's the basic concept of most religions, that inside we are all flawed sinners, right? We all do bad things, right? Well, guess what? That's human nature. That's the way we are. We have to separate ourselves from the concept that we are not gods. That's why we make mistakes, right? We interpret things wrong. We make wrong decisions, or we make decisions we think are right at the time, but then turn out to be wrong, right? But I feel like when people talk about things like that, like democracy or whatever, you're imagining a perfect version of it, but there is no perfect version of it. These are flawed concepts because they're flawed people. No matter how bad, no matter how good they might be, they still have flaws. Okay? I think I'm a good person. I think I'm a good person, but I have flaws. That's the thing that I know. Here's how I know Elon Musk is not a good person. Because Elon Musk came on TV and he said, I've never done anything wrong to anyone. I've never hurt anybody. That's a lie, because every person on the planet has hurt someone. Everyone has hurt someone. Nobody can say that and be truthful. You cannot say, I've never hurt anybody in my life. Yes, you have. Yes, you have. And if you can't admit that, that shows an extreme problem. Either you're lying or you don't know. And that's even worse. That means you're just a psychopath. If you don't know that you're doing bad things to people, then you are a psychopath. If you know, then you're a psychopath who's lying. Nobody can say that with a straight face. I'm a good person, but I have hurt people. I have hurt people. You know, there are some people who I've done things to that I regret. You know, and I've tried to make up for some of them sometimes, right? I try to apologize. I try to become a better person. I try to learn my lesson and grow and become better. But not everybody does. Not everybody does. As a matter of fact, there are many people who they revel in their mistakes. If you never admit you're wrong, then you revel in your mistakes. You know, you have to be wrong sometimes. That's just, again, that's statistics. That's math. Yeah, that's what makes us human. We're wrong a lot. We're wrong a lot. You know, we try to be right, but we are wrong a lot.
about democracy, Mark, not to open another topic, we can talk another time in case. Just one simple thought, recent thought, which is actually very simple and immediate, but people don't think about it. We were talking about Greek philosophy, ancient Greeks. There was born the idea of a democracy. Till even today, in political sciences, they study the Greek authors who introduced the term democracy, but without making the basic distinction. They used to live in the polis, which were small cities, actually towns.
That's right. Yeah, that's the biggest problem. You're right.
Biggest problem.
That is the biggest problem.
Few tens of thousands of people.
Right.
And for every decision, all the people, actually only the men, but all the men got reunited and voted.
Right.
That is democracy.
Right.
If in a nation, a country with tens of millions of people,
that's when it gets more complicated. Yeah.
You put across every 4 years, and for the rest, those people act at your place. Is this, even if they act well, I'm not contesting, just the method, without entering into the merit, just the method, putting across every 4 years, and then they do whatever they want. Is this democracy? No, it's not democracy. It's not because they act badly. No.
Yeah.
Even if they act well, it's not democracy.
But here's the thing. There's one very simple aspect to this. The more people that you need to organize, the more difficult it is. That's a very simple fact of life. So you're right. When the Greeks had city-states, it was just a city. That's a much smaller number of people to try to control or to organize, right? But the greater that number becomes, the more complicated it becomes, the more difficult. That's true for every system. Every system becomes much more difficult as you get up. And that's why often the bigger a system gets, the more authoritarian it gets. Because when I run a classroom, it's not a democracy. Okay? When I have a classroom, it's not a democracy. When you come to my class, you don't get to tell me what we're teaching. You don't get to tell me how to teach. You don't get to talk about anything. You don't get to use bad language. I run the show. I am King Mark, and this is my classroom. That's my kingdom, right? My classroom is my kingdom. And now, do I try to run a just classroom? I do. Do I try to run a fair classroom? I do. But there's one person in charge, and I have to try to dictate to everyone what must be done. And again, there are reasons why that's the case, because in a classroom, learning is not a democratic thing. It's not, when you learn, you don't get 5 people together and say, well, you know a little bit, and you know a little bit, and you know a little bit. Let's all try to put that together to make sense. That's not how it works. You find one person who knows the subject, and they teach everyone what they need to know. That's why experts are an important part of any democracy. Experts, and that's part of the problem that we have today, is that nobody wants to believe anybody anymore. Nobody wants to believe the experts anymore. And there are some valid reasons. There are some valid reasons why, for example, the media, the way we talked about how everything's owned and the narratives are controlled, whatever. But at the end of the day, a guy who spent his entire life studying that thing probably knows more about it than you do. And
Absolutely.
Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov he was a Russian American author. And he has one of my favorite quotes about democracy, specifically about American democracy. Let me find the quote so I can say it correctly. Let's see. Asimov, quote, ignorance. He said, "There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there always has been." Let me see. Where's the full quote? Here it is. "There is a cult of ignorance in the United States, and there always has been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our political and cultural life, nurtured by the idea, the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge." That is where we are today. What that means is there are many people, for example, there are many people who they didn't go to college, they didn't go to school, they didn't study anything about history, they didn't study anything about science, but they have a business and they're successful in their business and they make money in their business, so everyone respects them as though they are an authority. And guess what? Anybody who has money, they have opinions. Everybody who has money has opinions, and they think that because I have money, my opinions are valuable to everyone. But if Marcus Aurelius, he said, the opinion of 10,000 men means nothing if they know nothing of the subject. And so here we are today. There are people who have opinions. I have opinions. I have opinions. You have no knowledge, though. You have an opinion based on no knowledge. So your opinion means nothing. So some people believe all opinions are equal. They're not. They're not. You can have an opinion, but when you argue about it, it will become clear whose opinion actually has validity very quickly, because most people don't actually base their opinions on facts or data or experts, right? And again, maybe one expert is wrong. This guy was wrong, so now they all must be wrong. No. What sense does that make? What sense does that make? Just like ChatGPT, you should question it. You know, experts, you should question them. But there's a big difference between questioning and doubting. When I question an expert, I want to know more. But I'm not telling them you're wrong. I'm saying, that's interesting. Tell me more. Okay? So guess what, guys? Just like when you come here. Why do you come to me? Because I'm an English teacher. I have more information and experience about this subject than you do. So you might have an opinion about grammar, but your opinion is probably not based on as much knowledge and experience and information as mine. So you can have your opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't say it's equal. It's not, you know?
Well, yes, no, it's at the center of my recent speculation, Mark, because, yes, it's not only about, scientific topics, but it's about also politics, about democracy. It's better I don't say what my conclusions, because I don't know if in the USA you have the referendum.
Yeah, we do.
Referendum.
Yeah, of course we do.
Can you vote yes or not about one single?
Yeah,
do you have it?
You can.
I don't remember any referendum from USA.
Yeah, no, we have them. We have them regularly. Yeah, it depends, but they don't always come up because it's not always that close, right? Referendums only come up when there's a close, argument or debate about a subject, and then they have a referendum to decide, okay, yes or no, say, right? But things are not always that close here, to be honest. Certain topics are not that close, so we don't have the referendum. Yeah, but we do have to be a little careful because I'm trying to talk about the philosophy of politics without talking about the specifics of politics, right? So when they tell you here on Hello Talk we can't talk about politics, that's because they don't want you to talk about specific countries and the things that they do. I don't think they have a problem when we talk about, Plato and the beginnings of democracy and the concept of that's, I think, okay, but it's just when we start getting into this one's better and that one's worse and this one's the best. And so again, I'm saying that all ideas of running people are flawed because people are flawed. It's really that simple, there is no perfect system.
Running people are the governance, Mark? Running people? The governance?
Yeah, that's what I mean. There is no system that's perfect. Yeah, or organizing people and trying to rule them and trying to govern them, right? To govern them. That's what a government does, is to govern, right? It's a difficult thing. It's not easy. There are so many different people who want different things, and then the people who are in charge, they all have different views and different goals and different ideas too. So, I think that we want any governmental system to be the answer. We want a government idea to be the answer. So that's why we keep looking for what's the perfect one. Is this one better or is that one better? But they're all bad. They're all flawed. I'm not saying they're all bad. They're all flawed because, again, find me one perfect person on this planet. Right.
Indeed, I give up with politics, Mark, because yes, I can criticize, you see, but me at their place, okay, I can let's avoid the very bad things,
Right.
Unnecessary wars, unnecessary poverty.
I agree.
Apart from that, I wouldn't know what to do.
Right.
Because
do you know what?
How can you? Whatever you do, there will be people unsatisfied and critical to you. Whatever. There's no way to make everybody satisfied.
That's right. But that's why my city is a very important city, right? Because my city is named Cincinnati. And Cincinnati is named after the Roman consul Cincinnatus. And why was he famous? He was famous for one really big reason. They made him the leader. He came in for like 2 weeks and he said, do this, do this, do this, fix this, fix this, fix this. And then you know what he said? I'm done. Bye. I'm going back to my farm. That is a true leader. A leader who doesn't want to lead, that's a leader, right? Never trust the person who actually wants to lead. So Cincinnatus, that's why he was famous, because they gave him all the power. They gave him all the power, and he could have done what most people do. He could have taken that power and done good things for himself and done stuff for himself and his friends. But no, he came in and he said, no, I don't think this is good. I don't think this is good. Let's fix this. Let's fix this. And then a couple weeks later, he was like, bye, I'm going back to my farm. I'm a farmer. It's amazing. It's very rare.
If you allow me, Mark, I'll try to synthesize an historic information about Rome, ancient Rome. Yes, probably Cincinnatus was particularly in this way, not in this behavior, but actually we have a misconception about ancient Rome because we only think about the empire, ancient Rome, Roman Empire. Mm-hmm. Actually, the empire happened after more than 7 centuries of history of Rome. The first 2.5 centuries are just legend. The 7 kings.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Around the 500 before Christ, Rome became a republic. Rome was for 5 centuries republic. And in those centuries, Rome made almost all the conquests. Exactly because Rome expanded so much,
Right.
it couldn't be
That's
anymore
right.
a
Yeah.
republic. And then after civil wars, there was an emperor that lasted 2-3 centuries, even less, because then we had more 2 kings or 4 emperors at the same time. So the empire lasted 2 centuries, 3 centuries, but after 5 centuries of republic, I come to the point now. In those 5 centuries, guess what was the political asset? You think, wow, to conquer the world of the Mediterranean area, it should have been surely, it must have been surely a very efficient system, not like they had. That's crazy, but it's true. They had every year 2 prime ministers, both of them with the same powers, and they could emit laws independently.
Right. Yeah. That was
And
interesting.
They were in charge. They were in charge only 1 year.
Right.
Afterwards, they
No
were
more.
sent away.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the most inefficient system possible. Despite that, it's great. Rome became Rome with this system.
But it's inefficient.
So-
but there is a beauty to it, because when you bring in 2 people and they only have a certain limited amount of time to be there and then they're done, that means that there's a much greater likelihood that the decisions that they will make will be decisions for everyone, not for themselves. Because if they stay in politics, then those decisions will be for their good. But if they're making decisions, if they know, hey, I'm not going to be here next year, well, then the decisions they make are not for them. They're for everyone. Right? Yeah, which is that's why we created term limits, and why you're supposed to have, there's another quote I love from Mark Twain. I love a lot of his quotes, and my favorite one, he said, politicians are like diapers. They need to be changed often and for the same reason. They're full of... Politicians are like diapers.
I don't know diapers.
Diapers means what do the pants that babies wear? The pants babies wear to when they poop in their pants. That's a diaper. So politicians are like diapers. They need to be changed often and for the same reason.
That's fantastic. Fantastic.
Isn't that a great quote? That's a fantastic quote, right? That's Mark Twain. Mark Twain. That's one of the best quotes of all
That's
time.
A genius.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
Yeah, you should read. He has so many great quotes. He wrote books, but he was a political satirist, which means he wrote jokes and he wrote quotes about the silliness of government and the silliness of people. Yeah, that's one of my favorite quotes. Politicians are like diapers.
Absolutely. It's become one of my favorite ones too. Forever. It will be forever. I will remember it forever.
Yeah, I love that quote. Yeah, Anyway, Tomas, I need to get going here, but it was a pleasure to see you, my friend. And
thank you very much.
I rarely actually get to chat with people and have a good discussion, like a fun, interesting discussion. I rarely get the opportunity anymore. So I cherish it when I do. And so I appreciate that very much, Tomas. One day, I hope we can have a conversation like this over some espresso in Rome.
Yeah. No, I hope to see it.
One day. All right, Tomas. Thank you so much, my friend. I will see you next time, okay?
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Yeah, anyway. I love that quote. Yeah, if you want to read some good quotes, that's a good one. And guys, that's another really wonderful thing that you guys should do more of. Do you notice that I know a lot of quotes? Has anyone noticed that? I have a lot of quotes in my head. And look, right here, I have a brand new book I just got recently. Quotes are great because quotes make you think. And if you learn about the person who said it and the time when they said it, it teaches you a lot about why they said it. Right? So this is a whole book of quotes. I have probably, I don't know, I probably have at least 10 or 15 books that are all quotes. Recommend one? The Oxford Dictionary of Quotations. That's my favorite. Here, I think I have a copy right over here. So, I have 2 copies of this book because the first one, I bought it when I was 20. I think I was 20 years old when I bought this. And if you take a look at it now, it is a little rough. It has fallen apart. But I want you to see something. Let me show you something. Quotes. Quotes that I read, quotes that I studied. Many of them. Okay? So, yeah, I have 2 versions of this book because I've already destroyed this one. Because I've read it so many times and but there it is, the Oxford Dictionary of Quotations. Okay? Here's a quote I wrote when I was 20 years old. To be sensibly true is to know truth and sensibility. To know truth and sensibility is to know lies and fantasies. Wow, I was deep when I was 20. Passion is both a blessing and a curse. It is the thing that both drives and sucks your will, the thing that moves and removes your emotion. It makes you like a diamond, precious, hard, rare. What's that one? Oh, I can't read it. And, precious, hard, rare, and totally worthless. Because a diamond is just a rock. Yes, the Oxford Dictionary of Quotations is one of my favorites, but there are many. There are many, many good quotation books, and ChatGPT. Tomorrow, wake up and say, ChatGPT, please give me 10 famous quotes from famous people, or 10 famous quotes about democracy, or 10 famous quotes about food, or 10 famous quotes about music. Or 10 famous quotes from Marcus Aurelius, 10 famous quotes from Plato, 10 famous quotes from Mark Twain. Another good way to do that. Okay? Ooh, that's interesting. We can't say the truth is in TV because so many people are watching. Well, that's interesting. I like that. That's a interesting concept. See, I like that. It makes you think. It makes you think, right? Anyway, I know we had a very, very different conversation today, right? A very different conversation. But it was fun. It was fun. Let me see. Do I have anybody over here? I do. Hello to my YouTube people over there. Hello. So guys, I need to go. Yeah, I do create my own quotes. I have many of them. I have lots and lots of quotes. And yeah, I started making my own quotes when I was probably 19 or 20 years old. Because why not? You know, Alexander the Great was 22 when he conquered so much of the world. Joan of Arc was 17 when she did what she did. So, there's no reason why you can't say something important just as well as anyone else. You have experiences. You have insight. Make a quote. All right. Thank you very much, Cindy Pa and Galina. Thank you very much, Tomas. It was really great to talk with you, my friend. Yeah, I do say a lot of quotes without realizing. Oh, you mean mine? I don't know. Maybe not. If you like my words and you think they're valuable, then they're valuable. That's how words work. Words only have the value that you give them. I miss you too, Belen. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, guys. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening wherever you live in the world, and I will see you guys next time. I will not be here tonight, but I will be here tomorrow morning for a voice room, okay? So I'll see you guys in the morning. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.